Hello，大家好啊！今次咧講一講咧呢個禮拜啱啱公布嘅2024年嘅財政預算案啦，佢哋所謂嘅 Autumn Budget 2024，咁咧就因為係秋天公布啦，啱啱呢個禮拜，咁咧所以咧佢就叫做一個秋天嘅財政預算案啦。本來想講成個財長佢嘅演說佢內容嘅，咁但係咧發現咧原來長得好交關啊，咁就唔係咁好啦。但係咧，如果你上去佢哋個政府網站嗰度咧，你就會見到咧，佢其實咧就將嗰個廣告咧就已經登晒上去嘅。咁你見到咧，其實真係哇長得好緊要。咁所以咧，你如果有興趣，不妨上去睇下啦。咁如果係啦，有咩問題可以拎出嚟講喎。咁但係咧，我咧就拎咗咧BBC 新聞咧，佢咧就即係有一個 summary 啦。咁佢咧就話 How the budget will affect you and your money。咁咧就究竟呢個財政預算咧係點樣影響到你，同埋影響到你嘅你嘅錢銀咧，你嘅資產咁樣咧嚇咁。佢咁講啦，A budget packed with announcements ranging from tax and spending to pay and pensions has been revealed by Chancellor Rachel Reeves。咁佢話咧呢一個財政預算咧係 packed with，即係咧係捆綁咗好多嘅 announcements，咁咧就公佈即係唔同嘅公佈啦，而呢啲公佈咧就係 ranging from 就由 tax 同埋 spending 喺稅收同埋點樣使錢嗰個開支to pay and pensions 就去到咧個人工啦，同埋咧退休金啊 pay and pensions。咁呢一個咧係咧財長 Chancellor 咧就係英國稱呼佢嘅呢一個職銜咧就係財長啦。咁個財長咧叫 Rachel Reeves。咁咧由佢去 reveal 咗 ，reveal 咧就好似你將佢揭露啊、公佈啊、公開咁嘅意思嚇。A budget packed with announcements ranging from tax and spending to pay and pensions has been revealed by Chancellor Rachel Reeves。咁跟住落啦，佢話 Much of what she said could affect you and your finances directly. So here's what it means for you。咁佢話咧有好多佢講嘅嘢 ，much of what she said 就咧係好可能could affect you，會影響到你同埋你嘅 finances。咁留意喎，呢個 finance 咧作為即係你嘅財務作為一個名詞咧，就係個重音喺第一個音係 finance，就唔好讀 finance 喎，即係 your finances，咁咧會直接影響到。咁所以咧，佢咧就講話咧，嗱呢一篇咧就講咧，其實咧係點影響到你啦。If you're on low pay, your wages should rise。你如果咧係低收入嘅話咧 ，low pay，你嘅人工就應該係會上升嘅。Your wages should rise。Minimum wages paid by employers will rise across the UK in April。佢話咧最低工資由僱主俾嘅最低工資咧，喺4月份咧係全國 across the UK 就會上升㗎啦，就 will rise。咁佢就舉例唔同嘅最低工資究竟係點樣增加啦。The national living wage for employees aged 21 and over will rise from £11.44 an hour to £12.21。咁佢話其中一個咧叫 national living wage， 咁咧就呢個咧就如果冇記錯咧，應該係只係喺倫敦嘅嗰個範圍咧實行嘅。咁比起倫敦以外嘅範圍咧，就其實係高啲嘅，因為咧喺倫敦嘅生活指數較為高啦。咁佢就話咧，如果咧係俾員工佢係21歲或以上 ，for employees aged 21 and over， 咁佢咧就會咧由11.44一個鐘頭，就升到咧去12.21咁樣。If you are aged 18, 19 or 20, the national minimum wage will go up from £8.60 an hour to £10 咁佢話如果你嘅年齡係18、19同或者係20歲咧，就有一個咧叫 National Minimum Wage，咁佢咧就會由1個鐘頭嘅8.6磅咧，就會升到去10磅嘅。咁呢個應該升幅唔係，其餘嗰個升幅仲多啲。咁啊，跟住有第3類嘅最低工資啦。For those aged 16 or 17, the minimum wage will rise from £6.40 an hour to £7.55。咁佢話如果你咧係16或者17歲，因為16歲以上已經可以做嘢啦嘛，咁但係又仲未到21歲喎，咁所以咧佢咧就唔同嘅年齡層咧，佢個最低工資都有唔同。咁16、17歲咧，佢咧就會由每個鐘頭6.4磅咧，就增加到去每個鐘頭嘅7.55磅咁啦。咁另外仲有喎，佢話 The separate apprentice rate which applies to eligible people under 19 or those over 19 in the first year of an apprenticeship will also increase from £6.40 an hour to £7.55。咁佢話咧，另外咧有一個咧叫做 apprentice rate， 咁咧就係學徒嘅呢個學徒嘅收入率咁樣啦嚇。apprentice 係學徒咁解，學師學徒。咁佢話咧，合資格嘅人士 eligible people under 19 19歲以下嘅合資格人士咧，又或者咧係如果你高過19歲，而又喺你嘅個學徒嘅過程啊 apprenticeship 咧就係你做學徒嗰個過程嘅第1年咧，你咧就會係每個鐘頭6.4磅咧就增加到去7.55㗎。The increases are smaller in percentage terms than the previous 2 years。咁佢話咧呢一個嘅增幅咧係細啲嘅，如果你用百分比嚟計 ，in percentage terms than the previous 2 years， 係比起之前嗰2年咧嗰個增加咧都係細一啲。However, prices are rising at a slower rate now。咁佢話咧但係物價咧其實咧而家咧係喺一個較為慢嘅增長率嘅，咁所以咧就即係基於一個慢一啲嘅物價嘅增長率咧，所以咧佢呢個最低工資嘅增長咧都係會低一啲咁樣。But bosses say your job prospects could be affected。但係咧啲老細咧就話咧，你嗰份工嘅未來展望咧嘅前景啊，就可能會受影響啦。On top of the extra cost of paying staff on the minimum wage, many employers will have to make a bigger contribution to national insurance, covering more of the people they employ。咁佢話咧，喺呢一啲額外嘅開支以上咧 ，on top of 係一樣嘢以上啊。咁咧 extra cost 額外嘅開支 ，extra cost of paying staff on the minimum wage。咁因為咧佢哋要俾多一啲嘅最低工資啊嘛，咁所以咧就額外咗。佢話有好多嘅僱主啊 ，many employers will have to make a bigger contribution， 就要咧供款咧就會多一啲啊。contribution 係佢嘅付出啦，咁要供咧 national insurance 即係 NI 啦，咁咧就呢一個供款咧就咧會係涵蓋咗多一啲咧佢哋僱用嘅人啊，covering more of the people they employ。NI paid by employees will not change。咁佢咧就話咧，員工俾嘅 NI 咧就唔會改變嘅。But businesses say the chances of you getting a job or a pay rise may be hit as a result of the extra financial burden employers face。咁佢但係咧啲商戶啊 ，businesses 即係唔同嘅生意公司商戶咧，就話咧，你如果想即係揾到工 ，getting a job， 又或者咧 getting a pay rise， 又或者要加人工嘅機會啊 ，the chances of you getting a job or a pay rise 就咧可能會受影響啦，may be hit as a result of 就係因為咧呢一啲咧僱主所面臨嘅額外財務嘅負擔啊 ，extra financial burden， 額外嘅財務負擔。咁就係因為咁咧，你可能啲人咧揾工做又難啲，想加人工又會難一啲。Some could raise prices to cover the cost。咁一啲做生意嘅人咧，就可能咧會加即係會加價啦 ，raise prices 就係去加價咧，去彌補翻咧佢哋嘅開支。Traveling to work by bus may cost you more。咁佢咧就話你如果咧要搭巴士翻工嘅話咧，而家咧就可能咧要俾多啲錢啦，may cost you more。The single bus fare cap applied to many routes in England will be raised to £3 in 2025, up from £2。咁佢話咧單一巴士費嘅封頂啊，個 cap 即係佢個封頂啦，上限single bus fare。咁咧就對英格蘭咧有好多嘅巴士線嚟計咧，就會咧增加到咧去到3磅，喺2025年咧會可以去到3磅，即係最高嘅單一巴士費用咧收費咧就可以去到3磅咁多。本來咧就係2磅嘅，即係 up from 2磅咧就即係會增加到去3磅。Single bus fares in London with Transport for London will remain at £1.75, and those in Greater Manchester at £2, owing to a different funding system in those cities。咁佢咧就話啦，喺倫敦如果係 TfL Transport for London 嘅巴士費用咧，單一費用咧會維持喺1.75磅will remain at £1.75。同埋咧喺 Greater Manchester 喺呢個曼徹斯特嘅大區，曼城嘅大區咧，咁佢咧就會維持喺2磅嘅。咁呢個咧係因為 owing to 咧係解因為咁解，即係其實就好似 because of a different funding system。而呢一啲城市咧，佢哋點樣去即係去即係揾錢去支援呢一啲巴士嘅路線咧，佢哋個一個系統咧都係有啲唔同，咁所以咧就可以維持翻喺1.75磅咧同埋2磅啦。Fuel duty has been frozen since 2011, and that will continue。佢話咧呢個燃油附加費咧，燃油稅啊 ，fuel duty。咁咧就會佢話咧其實咧由2011年咧就已經係凍結咗，咁咧亦都係會繼續嘅。A 5p a litre fuel duty cut has also been extended。咁佢話咧可能喺之前有一啲時候咧就有一個燃油稅嘅減免啦，就每1公升咧就減5p。咁而呢一個減免咧，佢咧都係會再繼續嘅會延續啊 ，has also been extended， 會延續啦。咁咧佢再落嚟咧就講另外有一啲較為重要嘅稅務改變啦。Other significant tax changes could affect you。咁咧另外一啲重大嘅稅務改變咧，就可能咧會影響到你。Inheritance tax， 遺產稅 inheritance tax， which is currently 40%, is usually paid on the value of a deceased person's assets above a threshold of £325,000. That threshold has been prolonged to 2030。咁佢話咧，而家嘅遺產稅咧，現時currently 係40% 啦。咁佢話咧，通常咧都係咧就係點樣計法咧？就係計喺咧一個過咗身嘅人啊 ，deceased person 佢嘅 assets 佢嘅資產，而個資產咧係喺一個門檻，就係325000呢個門檻以上咧，佢先至會計你40% 嘅 above a threshold of £325,000。咁而咧呢一個門檻咧，就一路咧會延遲到去2030年啊！That threshold has been prolonged to 2030. At present， 咁而家嚟計咧 ，any money saved in a pension does not count towards this. But from April 2027, inherited pensions will be included。咁佢話而家嚟計咧。有一啲錢，如果你係等咗落去你個退休金嗰度，你個 pension 就其實咧就唔會計落去遺產稅嘅。但係咧，由2027年嘅4月開始咧，你如果係繼承咗一啲退休金嘅話咧，而呢一個繼承嘅退休金咧，都會計埋落去遺產稅啊！喺2027年嘅4月開始。This is likely to bring more estates into the inheritance tax net, owing to pension savings that have not been spent before somebody dies。咁佢話咧，呢一個咧好可能 likely 咧就會咧將你嘅遺產 estates 咧，其實都係解遺產咁解嚇。咁就除咗屋苑啊、屋邨之外咧，其實咧都係解遺產咁嚇。咁咧就會將更多嘅遺產咧就等咗落去咧呢一個遺產稅收淨遺產稅收裏邊，因為咧有一啲人咧，佢可能儲蓄咗落去佢嘅退休金嗰度咧，但係咧到佢死之前咧都未用晒佢所有嘅退休金嘅積蓄嘅。Owing to pension savings that have not been spent before somebody dies. The government 10,500 extra estates will pay inheritance tax as a result。In 2027 to 28，咁佢話咧呢個我唔知佢講緊乜嘢。佢話個政府嘅10500嘅額外遺產咧，就需要咧喺2027至28年度咧就要俾呢個遺產稅啦。佢話 until now， 咁佢話咧直至到而家為止咧，即係講緊之前咧。Various exemptions have allowed certain types of property, such as farms and family business assets, to be disregarded in terms of inheritance。咁佢話喺而家嘅之前咧，直至而家為止，即係之前嘅情況咧，就係咧，有好多唔同嘅豁免嘅。Various exemptions 係豁免啦，咁咧都係被容許嘅喺某一啲嘅物業種類嗰度 ，certain types of property。咁例如係咩咧 ？Such as farms 農地啦，同埋咧家族生意嘅資產啊 ，family business assets。咁佢咧都係 disregarded in terms of inheritance。咁佢咧喺遺產呢一方面嚟計咧，都係唔當係遺產嘅。佢話，但係咧 ，however from April 2026。The rules will ensure some tax will be paid on assets of more than £1 million。咁佢話咧，2026年嘅4月開始咧，咁佢話咧呢個政策咧，法例咧就會令到咧100萬磅以上嘅資產咧，都係需要俾一啲稅嘅。Ensure 即係確保咧 ，some tax will be paid on assets of more than £1 million。跟住再落啦 ，capital gains tax 咁啊點咧？呢個叫做資產增值稅is charged on the profit made from the sale of assets that have increased in value, such as second homes or investments。咁佢咧就話咧呢一個資產增值稅咧就咧係會 會收，如果你賣咗一啲資產，而嗰啲資產咧你係有收益嘅，有 profit 嘅，咁咧就又同埋咧，即係佢喺賣嗰陣時咧個價值係增加咗 ，have increased in value。咁例如咧，你係買 second homes，即係除咗你自己住嘅屋企，你買另外一個住宅物業啦，又或者咧係一啲 investments 或者係你一啲投資。The Chancellor has announced the rate at which CGT is charged will go up from 10% to 18% for basic rate taxpayers and 20% to 24% for those who pay at the higher rate。咁咧，財長咧佢就公布咗咧，話呢一個資產增值稅，唔係資產增，係資產增值稅 CGT。咁佢咧就呢一個稅率就係會增加㗎啦，就由一啲咧由10% 增加到18%，就係俾一啲咧最基本稅階 basic rate taxpayers 一啲基本稅階嘅交稅嘅人士嘅，就由10% 增加到18%啦。如果你係 at the higher rate， 如果你係咧再高一啲嘅稅率嘅人士咧，你嘅呢個 capital gains tax 咧就會由20% 咧增加到24%。This will match the existing rates for property, which will stay the same。咁佢話咧呢一啲嘅稅率咧就咧會配合翻現有物業稅嘅嗰一個稅率啦。咁咧就而物業稅嘅稅率咧就 will stay the same， 就會咧維持不變嘅。Smoking and vaping will cost you more。咁咧就吸煙同埋加熱煙咧就咧會就要你俾多啲錢啦。咁啊 ，tax on tobacco will increase by 2% above inflation and 10% above inflation for hand rolling tobacco。咁佢話咧煙草嘅稅咧就會增加到咧係喺呢個通脹再多2%，會 increase by 2% above inflation。咁而咧手捲煙啊 hand rolling tobacco 手捲煙草咧就會咧增加到咧喺個通脹嘅再加10%。A flat rate of duty will be applied on all vaping liquid from October 2026 at £2.20 per 10 milliliter vaping liquid。咁咧就呢一個加熱煙咧就係呢個液體狀態啦。咁佢講話咧就一個劃一嘅稅率啦 ，a flat rate of duty 劃一嘅稅收咧。就咧會係俾所有咧呢個加熱煙嘅液體，咁由2026年嘅10月開始啦，咁咧就係每10毫升嘅呢個加熱煙液體咧，就咧會收2.20磅。Stamp duty will hit landlords and potentially rent。咁佢呢度話咧，呢個離印稅啊，就咧應該咧會打擊到咧業主，就仲甚至乎咧有可能咧就會影響到呢個租金 ，potentially 係有可能地啊。Stamp duty on the purchases of second homes, buy-to-let residential properties, and companies purchasing residential property in England and Northern Ireland will rise from 3% to 5% on Thursday。咁佢話咧呢個離印費啊，咁咧就如果你係買 second home， 即係你第二頭家，咁同埋咧 buy to let residential properties， 如果你買嚟租出去嘅住宅物業，同埋咧 companies purchasing residential property， 如果用公司嘅名義去買一啲住宅 嘅物業咧，喺英格蘭同埋北愛爾蘭咧，佢嘅釐印費咧都會由3% 係增加到5% 嘅，由星期四開始，即係10月31號開始咧就會增加啦。Analysts say this could affect landlords' willingness to buy more properties。咁啲分析員啊，留意咧呢個字咧，成日有人讀錯啦。仲有一啲咧，譬如你嚟到呢一度咧，你係做分析員、做分析師咧，你呢個銜頭咧叫做 analyst。就唔係 analyze。如果你係分析作為動詞咧，係 lyse 尾咧，就係 analyze。咁而一個分析作為一個名詞咧，係 analysis。咁咧就呢啲咧成日都有人讀錯啊。analyst 係分析員，咁佢咧就話啦，呢個咧係會影響到業主嘅意向啊。佢哋可能咧會影響到咧佢哋咧買多一啲物業嘅意向嚇。could affect landlords' willingness to buy more properties. If the supply of rental properties is squeezed, that could mean rents rise for tenants in the remaining homes。咁佢話咧，如果呢個租務物業係受到鉗制啦，即係俾人喺度揸緊嘅話咧，如果呢一個供應係被揸緊咧 ，squeeze 即係你捏啦，即係你揸住一樣嘢咁啊。咁佢話咧就可能咧會意味住咧租客咧就需要俾多啲租金啦，因為咧剩咗落嚟嘅物業咧就係咁多啦。In the remaining home， 即係剩咗落嚟冇再增加嘅物業咧，咁咧呢個租客咧就要俾多一啲租。Private school fees will rise。私校嘅學費咧就會增加啦。A much discussed Labour policy has been formally announced, which means that VAT at the standard rate of 20% will be added to private school fees from 1st January 2025。咁咧有一個咧即係討論咗好多咁嘅意思啊。much discussed 討論咗好多嘅工黨嘅政綱 Labour 嘅 policy， 佢嘅政綱has been formally announced， 就而家正式真係公布咗啦。咁咧而呢個咧就代表咗咧一個 standard rate 嘅20%， 一個標準嘅 VAT 叫做咩消費稅嘅標準稅率咧就會咧加落去咧私校嘅學費啊。will be added to private school fees， 由2025年嘅1月開始。How much extra that means parents of privately educated children will have to pay depends on the decision of individual schools。咁咧嗱，佢有個咁嘅 VAT 咧，咁但係佢話咧，究竟讀一啲即係私校嘅小朋友，佢嘅家長需要俾幾多咧？咁呢個咧都係取決於咧唔同學校佢哋嘅決定，因為個 VAT 就係加咁多啦。咁但係咧學校唔一定將全部嘅呢個加費咧都轉嫁咗落去個家長度噶嘛，咁都要睇學校而定啦。It is also highly unlikely they will now be able to avoid the extra fees by paying in advance。咁佢話咧，其實咧係非常之個機會好微啊 ，highly unlikely。佢話咧，如果人哋而家咧已經係預繳啊 ，paying in advance， 預繳呢即係如果佢而家未加費之前，因為佢2025年1月先加嘛，佢話啲家長咧即係個可能性好低啦。如果佢而家已經預先俾咗學費，就希望咧可以避免咗呢一個額外收費。咁佢就咁樣講。Your benefits and state pension are affected。佢話咧你嘅 津貼同埋福利同埋個 state pension 呢個國家嘅退休金咧，都係會受影響嘅。The Chancellor confirmed the amount received in benefits will rise by 1.7% in April, in line with inflation。咁咧，財長咧亦都確定咗咧，呢個福利津貼即係會收到嘅嗰一個金額咧，喺4月份咧就係會增加1.7%嘅。咁呢個咧就係咧會符合翻呢個通脹嘅 ，in line with inflation 係符合通脹。The most common working age benefit claimed by 7 million people, 38% of whom are in a job, is universal credit。咁佢話咧最 common 最普遍嘅 working age benefit， 即係你係呢個合乎工作年齡嘅福利津貼咧，就有成700萬人咧，到而家咧係領取緊嘅，係 claimed by 7 million people。咁而呢700萬人咧，其實咧有38%咧，其實都係有做緊嘢嘅。咁而呢一個最普遍俾法定工作年齡嘅人士攞嘅呢個退休津貼咧，就係 universal credit 啦。咁我唔知中文有冇一個特定嘅翻譯啦，咁我就譯佢做呢個通用福利金啦，或者係全民嘅福利金咁。The rise would mean the standard allowance for a single person aged under 25 is expected to go up by £5.30 a month to about £317。咁佢話咧個增加咧就意味住咧呢個標準嘅津貼standard allowance for a single person， 如果係單身人士，佢係25歲以下嘅，就咧可以預計到佢咧就會咧係增加5.3磅，每一個月會增加5.3磅，而去到咧317磅。咁佢呢度有個錯，佢應該係 is expected to go up by £5.30，爭咗個 to。For a couple aged over 25, the rise is likely to be £10.50 to £628 a month。咁佢話咧，如果你係25歲以上嘅兩公婆，即係咁呢一個增加咧，就好可能就會係增加一個月10.5磅咁樣，就去到咧628磅。The total amount received in universal credit depends significantly on your circumstances。咁佢話咧，你究竟總共係拎到幾多咧？喺呢個 universal credit 嗰度咧，係大大取決於depends significantly， 大大取決於你嘅個別情況嘅 depends significantly on your circumstances。咁呢個咧 circumstances 咧係個重音咧喺第一個音係 circumstance。Those on universal credit who owe money to the Department for Work and Pensions will pay that back at a lower rate。佢話咧，原來有人咧都爭政府錢嘅喎。佢話咧，如果你係而家爭政府錢，而係咧攞緊 universal credit 嘅話咧，呢個政府部門咧叫 Department for Work and Pensions。咁你咧要還款嘅嗰個還款率咧就可以低一啲啦。Will pay that back at a lower rate。The Chancellor said there would be a widespread review of health and disability benefits。咁咧，財長佢話咧會有一個咧好普及嘅調查，佢哋咧會即係睇一睇翻啲人即係攞緊健康或者係殘疾津貼嘅人health and disability benefits。咁佢咧就會有一個好普及性嘅調查咧，睇翻呢一啲攞津貼嘅人。 Carers will be able to earn more before losing their allowance。咁咧就你如果做一啲照顧人士咧，即係你嗰份工咧係去照顧人啊。咁佢可能會有一個即係有個限額，就係話啊，你如果你嘅收入係去到某一個數目咧，你咧就唔可以攞津貼啦。咁佢呢度話咧，你而家咧，如果你做照顧者，做一個 carer 咧，咁你咧就可以賺多啲錢啊，即係就唔使咁驚咧，你賺得多咧就冇咗津貼咁。咁佢呢度話 the maximum earnings threshold will rise from £151 to £195 a week。咁咧，如果你作為照顧者咧，你咧最高嘅嗰個收入門檻咧，每個禮拜咧就增加到咧係195磅啊。咁之前咧係151磅。The state pension will rise in line with average earnings, going up by 4.1% in April。咁嘅話咧，呢個國家退休金咧就會咧就會增加到咧同呢個平均收入咧去睇齊，going up by 4.1% in April。咁咧喺4月咧就會增加4.1%。咁呢個咧就意味住咧 the full new flat rate state pension for those who reached state pension age after April 2016 is expected to increase to £230.25 a week。佢話咧呢一個咧全新嘅劃一嘅呢個數目咧 ，flat rate 係呢個劃一嘅數目咧。咁呢個新嘅全國退休金咧，佢話呢個只係咧係比咧2016年4月嘅之後就達到咗呢個國家退休金、全民退休金嘅年齡嘅人啊，2016年4月或者之後達到呢個年齡達到呢個全民退休金嘅人咧，咁佢咧就咧每一個禮拜咧就可以攞到230磅。230.25磅嘅呢個全民退休金。咁咧就呢度講緊咧，如果你咁樣計咧，攞緊呢個新數目嘅話咧，就咧每一年咧就會可以多475磅。That will mean a rise of £472 a year compared with now。同而家比較咧，就可以增加472磅啦，每一年。咁另外有一個 rate 嘅叫 basic state pension 啊，佢話 the full old basic state pension for those who reached state pension age before April 2016 is expected to go up to £176.45 a week, a rise of £363 a year compared with now。 咁佢呢個咧就係話咧，原來有一個咧係舊嘅基本全民退休金咧，就係2016年4月之前咧就已經退休咗嘅人咧，咁而家咧就可以咧每一個禮拜咧就可以得到咧176磅，176.45磅啦。咁講緊咧全年嚟計咧就增加咗363磅咁多嘅。But the Chancellor has previously announced that millions of pensioners will lose their winter fuel payment worth up to £300 as a result of a government cut。咁咧，但係咧，財長咧，其實佢之前咧都已經公布咗啦 ，previously announced， 就咧有成數以百萬計嘅退休人士咧，佢咧就會失去咗佢嘅冬季燃油津貼啊 ，winter fuel payment。咁你講緊咧係 可以達到成300磅咁多嘅嗰一個津貼。As a result of a government cut， 咁咧呢一個咧係因為咧政府咧係削減開支嘅，所以咧有成數以百萬計嘅退休人士咧都攞唔到呢個 winter fuel payment。No extra squeeze on the income tax you pay。我睇下仲有幾多先，差唔多最後一段講埋。咁咧佢話咧你呢個叫咩人工嘅收入啊，你個收入咧就唔會有額外嘅即係增加收費咁嘅意思啦，佢唔會再揸你多一啲嘅稅收啦。A freeze in the income thresholds at which different rates of income tax are paid continues as planned。咁佢話咧呢一個收入嘅門檻咧就會凍結咗嘅。咁而呢一個凍結咗嘅收入門檻咧 freeze 係凍結啦。佢話咧 at which different rates of income tax are paid continues as planned。咁佢話咧即係而家有啲唔同嘅收入門檻咧就俾緊唔同嘅稅率啦，咁都係會凍結咗佢咁樣。There had been speculation this would be prolonged, but the Chancellor ruled this out, saying thresholds will rise in line with prices from 2028。咁佢話咧，有人講話咧，有揣測啦 ，speculation 話咧呢一個收入門檻咧就會一路維持落去啦，會延續落去。但係財長咧就已經講咗咧，我哋唔會永遠咁維持落去啦。佢已經係 ruled this out， 佢咧係即係講咗話冇可能噶啦。咁佢就話咧呢一個唔同嘅稅階咧喺2028年咧就會因應唔同嘅收費咧就會會喺2028年之後咧就會增加啦。呢個我唔知佢背後其實係咩意思啊，但係個字面就咁解啦。佢話 Until then, any kind of pay rise could drag you into a higher tax bracket or see a greater proportion of your income taxed than would otherwise be expected。睇一睇先啊。咁佢話，因為咧，佢而家頭先講話咧，佢係凍結咗而家嘅稅階啦。即係譬如話，而家係講緊係你，譬如你去到5萬磅，一年5萬磅，你就話5萬磅之前咧，你係俾緊某一個稅率啦，5萬磅之後咧就俾緊一個較為高一啲嘅稅率啦。咁但係如果你加人工嘅話，而個稅階又唔增加咧，即係你變咗你加人工，你因應呢個通脹加人工咧，咁你其實咧就要俾高一啲嘅稅。咁佢而家就係講話啦 ，until then， 咁咧喺佢加稅階之前咧，任何嘅 pay rise，any kind of pay rise， 任何嘅加人工咧，就可能咧會拉咗你落去一個較為高嘅稅階啊 ，could drag you into a higher tax bracket。咁咧又或者咧。See a greater proportion of your income taxed， 咁咧就可能咧，你會一個較為喺你嘅收入嘅一個較為大嘅比率咧，就而家咧就需要交稅啦，than otherwise be expected。咁比起你之前預計咧，而家咧就可能咧就要交多一啲稅啦。Scotland has its own income tax rate。咁佢呢度提一提咧，就話蘇格蘭咧就有佢自己嘅即係收入嘅稅率嘅。You may not earn enough to pay income tax。咁佢話咧，你可能即係未必個收入咁多啦，你可能咧收入稅你唔使俾啦。So VAT 咁咧呢個消費稅 paid when buying goods and services。你其實咧你買嘢同埋買服務咧就已經要俾啦。May hit you harder and that's been left unchanged。咁佢話咧你要俾嘅消費稅咧就可能咧會影響你多一啲啦。咁但係咧嗰一個消費稅咧係維持不變嘅 left unchanged。 Anyone who dodges paying tax faces a higher interest rate when paying it back。咁佢呢度咧只係提一提咧，最後提一提大家，如果你係閃避咗，即係你想逃稅啊 ，dodge paying tax 咧，咁你面臨要俾嘅嗰一個稅率咧，就係會再高一啲嘅。如果你之後被發現而係要補交翻稅啊嘛。Anyone who dodges paying tax faces a higher interest rate when paying it back。咁你係要俾多一啲嘅呢個利息嘅，如果你再補交翻稅嘅話。好啦，咁呢個咧就係咧概括咗今次呢個財政預算案佢講會影響我哋嘅問題啦。咁如果有啲咩問題可以喺個 group 度問我，或者咧喺翻呢一個YouTube 頻道嗰度問都 OK 嘅。好啦，下次再見，拜拜。